Hi. Okay. Hi, guys. So I wanted to make a video on the notice that I just wrote that's going to Congress in regards to all the train derailments that have been happening all across the 50 states. So I want to read the notice to you guys, and um, that's about it, and explain it. I'm going to read it and explain it. So I'm going to share the screen, and let's get started. Okay. Okay. Notice to Congress regarding the repeated attacks of our natural resources, the land, air, and water. Notice to agent is notice to principal, and notice to principal is notice to agent. I, one of the people of the 50 American states, as seen in the bills and declarations of rights of the 50 state constitutions, Republican in form and having all political power, sui juris, am serving you with this notice so that you and your agents, as the trustees and servants of the people, may provide immediate due care by way of necessity. Please take notice that we, the people, demand immediate redress and investigations due to the constant and repeated attacks on the people and our natural resources from the disasters occurring across the nation through multiple train derailments of highly hazardous, dangerous, and toxic chemicals and substances. As trustees, servants, and agents of the people, it is your absolute duty and responsibility to ensure our rights are always protected. This includes our inherent guaranteed right to ensure protection and preservation of our natural resources, those of the land, air, and water. See evidence below. Pennsylvania Constitution, Article 1, Section 27, Natural Resources and the Public Estate. The people have a right to clean air, pure water, and to the preservation of natural, scenic, historic, and aesthetic values of the environment. Pennsylvania's natural public resources are the common property of the people, including generations yet to come. As trustees of these resources, the Commonwealth shall conserve and maintain them for the benefit of all the people. And then we have Rhode Island Constitution, Article 1, Section 17, Fishery Rights, Shore Privileges, Preservation of Natural Resources. The people shall, I'm going to skip the beginning part because it doesn't apply. The people shall be secure in their rights to the use of and enjoyment of the natural resources of the state, and with due regard for the preservation of their values. And it shall be the duty of the General Assembly to provide for the conservation of the land, air, land, water, plant, animal, mineral, and other natural resources of the state, and to adopt all means necessary and proper by the law to protect the natural environment of the people of the state by providing adequate resource planning for the control and regulation of the use of the natural resources of the state, and for the preservation, regeneration, and restoration of the natural environment of the state. That was long. But yeah, the first part that I don't have highlighted here, it doesn't technically apply. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's not what I wanted to highlight. It was the part that's bold that matters for this notice. So then we have 3 maxims of law. 83D. That which is otherwise not permitted, necessity permits and makes a privilege as to private rights. Then we have when anything is commanded, everything by which it can be accomplished is also commanded. And then I'm going to scroll up, and we have 51Q. A frequent recurrence to the two fundamental principles and a firm adherence to justice, virtue, and original law are indispensably necessary to preserve the blessings of liberty and good government. Please take notice that at no time is any inherent natural right guaranteed to the people to be infringed upon or trespassed against by any servant or agent or any person or corporation which is granted a charter to exist in any of the 50 states of our nation. In fact, it is the duty of our public servants who are delegated express authority through the sovereign power of the people to ensure our rights and maintain a free government. Do you believe you are protecting our rights and ensuring our safety and security by allowing private companies such as Norfolk Southern and CSX, who are transporting highly hazardous, toxic chemicals and substances, to then ignore all mandatory laws and procedures required when dealing with hazardous waste to just dump and burn those chemicals onto the land, which belongs inherently to we, the people? Please provide the constitutional authority that grants you the privilege to ignore all mandatory provisions as they are expressly written in the constitutions and act outside of your delegated power, authority, or charter. Failure to provide the constitutional authority means that your actions are a trespass against the people with full knowledge, intent, and malice. See evidence below. Then we have Michigan Constitution, Article 4, Section 52. Natural resources, conservation, pollution, impairment, destruction. The conservation and development of the natural resources of the state are hereby declared to be a paramount public concern of the interest of the health, safety, and general welfare of the people. The legislature shall provide for the protection of the air, water, and the other natural resources of the state from pollution, impairment, and destruction. Then we have Louisiana Constitution, Article 9, Section 1, Natural Resources and Environment, Public Policy. The natural resources of the state, including air and water, and the healthful, scenic, historic, and aesthetic quality of the environment shall be protected, conserved, and replenished insofar as possible and consistent with the health, safety, and welfare of the people. The legislature shall enact laws to implement this policy. Then we have South Carolina Constitution, Article 1, Section 23. Provisions of the Constitution are mandatory. The provisions of the Constitution shall be taken, deemed, and construed to be mandatory and prohibitory, and not merely directory, except where expressly made directory or permissory by its own terms. So that's saying that all 51 constitutions, all 50 state constitutions are mandatory, and every trustee and servant is bound by the contract that's granted through those constitutions, and also every business or corporation that's created a charter is also bound by those provisions of the constitutions. They're all mandatory for everyone, unless you're in a PMA. Next, we have Louisiana Constitution, Article 1, Section 26, State Sovereignty. The people of the state have the sole and exclusive right of governing themselves as a free and sovereign state, and do and forever hereafter shall exercise and enjoy every power, jurisdiction, and right pertaining thereto, which is not or may not hereafter be by them expressly delegated to the United States of America in Congress assembled. So that's saying that the people are sovereign, and we have all authority, all power, and all jurisdiction over everything in the states and in our nation. Then we have a couple maxims. So hold on, I'm going to scroll up a little. We have 86A. It would be idle and trite to say that no right is absolute. Then we have 92AA. The deprivation of any rights may be punished. And 96H. One who is a servant is employed by a master to perform service in his affairs, and whose physical conduct in performance of the service is controlled by the master. And then we go. Please take notice that it is our wish, order, and demand as the people who hold all political power that you immediately convene a grand jury to investigate and bring forth indictments into the willful misconduct of servants nationwide who are neglecting and allowing repeated, blatant, and flagrant attacks against our natural inherent guaranteed rights, including the protection and preservation of our natural resources, land, air, and water. Any attacks or disasters involving our natural resources, land, air, and water, and our food supply, including farming, livestock, food production, growth, and agriculture. We, the people, understand that attorneys have been blocking our rightful access to the grand jury in all 50 states, and this right needs to be immediately restored to we, the people. It is the duty of our legislatures, including the United States Congress, to ensure that any and all public servants are fulfilling their oath of office and securing our individual rights as they are expressly declared in the bills and declarations of rights of the Constitution. As a public servant, your contract is with the people, and those duties to which you are strictly bound are expressed in your trust indenture, the 51 Constitution. So whatever state you're in, and that's your trust indenture, where you're a servant, and the U.S. Constitution applies to all states. If you believe that you are not bound by oath or affirmation to the express trust and contract which created your public office, please provide the constitutional provisions that grant you such privileges. Failure to provide the constitutional authority means your actions are a trespass against the people with full knowledge, intent, and malice. See evidence below. And then we have Missouri Constitution, Article 1, Section 16. Let me scroll up a little so you can see it. The grand jury shall consist of 12 citizens. Hold on, let me start over. Missouri Constitution, Article 1, Section 16, grand juries, composition, jurisdiction to convene, and powers. That a grand jury shall consist of 12 citizens, any 9 of whom concurring may find an indictment or a true bill, provided that no grand jury shall be convened except upon an order of a judge or of a court having the power to try and determine felonies. But when so assembled, such grand jury shall have the power to investigate and return indictments for all character, and grades of crimes, and that the power of grand juries to inquire into the willful misconduct in office of public officers and to find indictments in connection therewith shall never be suspended. So this last part, the power of grand juries to inquire into the willful misconduct in office of public officers and to find indictments in connection therewith shall never be suspended. That means it's our guaranteed right, because this article, this provision is in the Declaration of Rights of Missouri Constitution. And there's a few others, but I just used this one for this notice because we don't need to go crazy with showing them all. Maxim of law 4F. Faith must be observed. An agent must not violate the confidence reposed in him. Maxim of law 59F. He who does not repeal an injury when he can induces it. 62G. That which is in law, that which is valid in law has legal strength, force, and effect of incapable. Let me start over. 62G. That which is valid in law has legal strength, force, and effect, or incapable of being rightfully overthrown or set aside. So that's saying that which is valid in law has legal strength, force, and effect, and or is incapable of being rightfully overthrown or set aside. So we're telling them that they cannot set aside our rights or the law because they are inherent and they swore an oath to those contracts, the contract to never infringe upon our rights or trespass against them. Please take further notice that we the people demand that the United States Congress and the following committees begin immediate investigation. The Committee on Natural Resources by way of Chairman Bruce Westerman, the Committee of Transportation and Infrastructure by way of Thomas Massey and Scott Perry, the Agriculture Committee by way of Chairman Glenn Thompson, and Senator John Boozman through his various Senate committees, Committee on Agriculture, Nutrition and Forestry, and Committee on Environment and Public Works. And there's also subcommittees that these people are on that all apply as well. We the people demand that you immediately convene these committees and hold hearings to investigate the repeated attacks on our natural resources, land, air, and water of the people across the 50 states, including those in Windermere, Richland County, North Dakota, Topock, Mojave County, Arizona, Gothenburg, Nebraska, Bryn, Texas, Van Buren Township, Wayne County, Michigan, Calhoun County, Alabama, Bradenton, Florida, which is Sarasota as well, Air, Massachusetts, San Bernardino County, California, East Palestine, Ohio, which also affected part of Pennsylvania, Riverbank, California, and Lake City, South Carolina. And these are just some of them. Also, any other locations that have involved toxic hazardous chemicals or substances being spilled onto our land, air, or water, whether via train derailments or any other hazardous disaster in any of the states. We realize that these repeated attacks on our land, air, and water may warrant a special committee to deal directly with this emergent situation. Let me scroll up. Please take final notice that we the people seek immediate investigations into Norfolk Southern, CSX, and their continued involvement and the actions they have taken in the multiple train derailments in the above mentioned locations and any other locations that we have not mentioned, but that it is your duty to gain the pertinent information to perform the proper investigations. We also seek immediate investigations into any and all actions by any government agents and or corporations and any persons involved, including but not limited to Norfolk Southern, CSX, and any servants of the people who are involved in the decision-making, in the response, management, and cleanup of any and all train derailments where hazardous chemicals were involved. So we want anyone involved in the decision-making where they took measures into their own hands and did something they weren't supposed to be held accountable. Furthermore, we the people demand the immediate restoration of our grand juries to the people as guaranteed by declared natural right. All of our attorneys are to immediately cease and desist in interfering with and trespassing against the guaranteed rights of the people. If you believe any of the above claims are untrue or that you have the authority to harm, infringe, or trespass against the rights of the free people, please provide the constitutional provisions that grant you such privileges. All responses must be submitted by affidavit, sworn under the penalty of perjury, within 5 days of receiving this notice, or you agree by acquiescence all statements in this notice to be truth and in law. Further, you agree that you are acting with full knowledge, intent, and malice by trespassing on the people's inherent rights, and that no court shall be able to rehear this matter, but it shall stand as truth, evidence, and law in all courts of record. This notice is sent to you in the peace and love of Christ. so that you may provide due care to those who have all political power, the people. So this is the notice that I just wrote in regards to the many train derailments that are contaminating our land, air, and water, our natural resources, and we are demanding immediate redress and investigations by Congress to look into this matter and convene grand juries to investigate any willful misconduct by any public servants and anyone else involved in these attacks on our inherent rights, specifically those of our natural resources and protecting and preserving our land, air, and water. So everyone please sign the jot form that will be attached with this video and share it with everyone. Thank you. Sharing.